In this video I wanted to talk about scripted cold calling versus kind of freestyle, changing the way you talk, changing the tone of the call depending on what the prospect says. And that is the main aim of the video, to kind of tell you which one's probably right for you, which one you should follow, and how to kind of get started with it as well. So jumping right in then, the first off is the scripted cold call, and I very highly recommend this for anyone that's a beginner or is not quite sure of the market they're in, anyone that's not that confident, as this is a really great way to still have a solid sales script or kind of pitch towards the potential client or prospect without coming across as unexperienced or not knowing what you're doing. If you can follow the script confidently and know what you're saying well, then that can be a huge advantage of using the script rather than freestyle. As you like I said, you have to freestyle. So yeah, using a script is a really good way to get started. Now I'll go a bit more in depth of what this is currently. So what it is you write a script out, whether you're selling lead generation or some sort of SMMA service or anything like that. Anything you're selling online, over the phone, having a good sales script is a really good idea, as you know what you're selling, you know what you're saying towards the audience, you know how to make it come across in a clear and effective way that's not intruding or rude or anything. You can also sometimes be funny with it as well. So sales script, you write out the sales script, you start the call off either with the sales script if you write a starter on there, or you leave that just to the pitch and start off with a good morning, good afternoon, how are you, it's your name, calling from wherever you're calling from. You don't have to add any of that in, that is just a recommendation. Something you can also take away pieces of that, adjust it to be whatever you want. You're using a sales script, you have something to follow, you have a clear structure, and if you're not confident, then you can just read off the sales script off your laptop, off your phone, off of a bit of paper if you've wrote it down. Any device where you can use it, a sales script comes in really handy. So I would definitely recommend a sales script for anyone that's not that confident or is not that sure the industry they're in. You can research the industry, you can talk a little bit about that in the sales script, and that is another huge advantage. If you're not sure of the industry, let's say you're doing a carpenter, you're not too sure about the carpenter or the woodwork that goes into it, research the carpenter, put some elements of it in your sales call, so they know, not sales call, sorry, your pitch call, where they know about what it is that you're doing, how to kind of work with them, what they're looking for. If they're running ads, you can talk about the sort of ads you're running, what work you're looking for. If they mention a certain type of work and you've researched it, you can talk to them a little bit more in depth about that, just to show them that you're not scrolling on Google Business Profile, just calling all of them, you don't know what you're talking about. You're kind of just shooting in the dark, hoping that one actually lands and you gain a client from that. But by knowing how to gain their trust through the use of their industry and through the use of their knowledge of what they'll know, specialist knowledge can also come in handy. So if you just search on the internet anything that you think may come in handy in a sales call, that is a great thing to add into there. But you do not want it to be a very long paragraph where you're confusing them, you don't know what they're saying, and you don't know how to make it come across right towards the audience. So that is something that is also included and important using a sales script. You can use it in many other things as well. You can use it in the Instagram DMs, in emails. You can have a standard thing you sent out, or you can personalise it, make it sort of more freestyle, which is what I'm going to talk about now. Yeah, if you're not very confident, you're a beginner, you're not sure the industry you're working in, anything like that, then a sales script is the great way to go, and probably the best way to move forward and get started with the cold calling, as you can kind of follow it. You may get some results from it, it's going to work well if it's written right. So another thing to bear in mind with a sales script is, or just a script in general, is that it needs to come across personal. You can't talk like a robot. You see all the words over, hello, my name is, talking like that and making it seem juttery, and where you stop and you need to take a breath to read, it needs to all flow, it needs to all sound natural. Even make it come across to them like you've done this 100 million times before. You know what you're doing. They have more confidence in you, especially when you start to talk about their industry and what they start doing, that kind of idea. that can really build trust with them and make them want to work with you even more over the phone, or make them more likely to say yes to book on a video call, book on another call with them, whatever your main aim of the actual call is. That can push you towards that further and make it a lot more high of a chance that you actually do that. So sales script, making it natural, making it flow, not talking like a robot, all these things can really help towards gaining the end result, which is probably booking a call with them. 9 times out of 10 it will be. So that can be a very, very important and powerful thing to bear in mind when you are making a sales script. Make it sound natural, make it sound like it's their best mate talking to them on the phone, rather than someone trying to sell them something, or someone trying to make them interested in your product or service or idea. So that is something to bear in mind and very, very important during the script. And when you're cold calling, Instagram DMs, emails, the cold outreach processes, something to bear in mind. You sound natural, like you know what you're doing. You've done it 100 times before, even if you're trying to sign your first client during doing all of these. So the next one was freestyling. Now, freestyling is something for more advanced, more experienced, or people that just have a lot of confidence and are probably knowledgeable in quite a lot of things overall in the kind of sector, in the kind of industry that they're in. Now, you can make freestyling like a system and sort of like a sales script. I don't want to say that, but like a script where you say the same sort of thing, you adjust it to each business, each industry, whatever it is that you're searching, your niche. But generally, it will be all changeable. So like in a script, you can of course add things in, you can change it depending on the industry, you can make it seem more interesting depending on what it is you're actually talking about for them. But when it comes to the freestyling, you are more likely going to change it up every single call, make it seem like you know what you're doing. And if you have a high success rate with sales scripts or just cold calls in general, then freestyling is a great option, as it allows you to seem more confident, more flowy. You know what you're saying on the call, you know how to make it work for them, and it becomes just a lot more easy for the client to want to say yes if you know what you're doing, if you're freestyling, if you're having a laugh and a joke with them. Maybe a joke that you are saying in a script won't work every single time, but if you can change it depending on the customer, if you've researched them, the prospect, you know who they are, you know what they do, you know how they do it, you know why they do it, etc., then freestyling is a really, really, really good option for that, as it allows you to become more natural. They believe in you more, they know what you're saying, and like I said, it really does become like a friend's conversation. You have a laugh, you have a joke with them, you're still booking that call that you were always aiming to do, and you make it like a normal friend's call, but the main aim at the end is to obviously get that sale, get the extra phone call, get the extra video call booked, whatever your main aim of that outcome the call is, then that can really push you even further towards that yet. So that is something that many people are even working on right now, just to improve their sales calls, improve the way they're talking naturally, as that is probably the biggest takeaway of this video. If you're doing a script, if you are doing freestyling, then cold calling is a really, really, really important and really big way to get that across, rather than a text message or a DM. That's why I'm making videos about cold calling recently. I've done a few. I think I've kind of made it more generalised, so I'm talking to quite a few people out that are watching the videos, making it so anyone starting their business journey, their online thing, whatever it may be, that can be implemented by all. So that is kind of why I'm making these cold calling videos at the minute, as I'm finding them to be the most effective and the most efficient when it comes to gaining clients, signing people, making people interested, making people book the calls with you, etc., whatever that is that you're trying to do with them. So that's the reason why I'm making a lot of videos about cold calling at the minute. For freestyling, you change it up, you make it funny, you make yourself seem personalised, you know what you're doing, you know how to alter it towards them, make it to their liking. Obviously, move away from the things they're going to dislike if you understand the industry very, very well. But that is kind of the difference between cold calling and freestyling. So if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer any of them you may have. If you want to know how to implement some sort of sales script into actual practice or anything, I can only give you the tips I've learned. I'm not claiming to be an expert because I'm definitely not. But I can give you the tips I've learned along the way. I post a lot of the cold calls that I do on social media, and you can see them all on there, see how they unfold. You see some that I do gain people interested, usually a lot, probably more that I don't. As you know, cold calling is a very versatile thing. You can make it, one day you can land every single call, one day no one answers, one day no one's interested. So it can be a very, very different and versatile thing, kind of, that makes it unpredictable in a way, and that is why having a good sales script, having a good freestyling way of doing things can really, really help with that. As if it's a day where just people are not answering the phone, if people aren't interested at all, if you can change it up, change their opinion around, make it seem like you know what you're doing, they're interested, then having a good sales script and being able to freestyle is really, really important when it comes to that. So which one's right for you then? Well, to sum that up, like I mentioned in the beginning, the cold calling script is a really, really great way to start for beginners and people that aren't as confident as cold calling, but not as confident as the industry that they're cold calling for. Freestyling is great for people that know what they're doing. They're very confident cold calling. They are very experienced in the industry they're dealing with, and that is kind of who the cold calling type is for. So thank you very much for watching. Remember to take it one step at a time, and I'll see you in the next one.